Hey everyone, welcome to the Ceres podcast. This is part 2 with Alastair Horabin. A couple of weeks ago, we revealed the Fish and Chips ebook, so just a quick update because you would have heard it in the last episode. It's absolutely stonking, everyone's downloading it, but it's only good if you soak in the information and try actually do something. We can't make anything happen, you've got to do that yourself. We are planning some podcast episodes to discuss each chapter. Remember, the motto of this book really is why survive when you can thrive. So go on, get your free download today. You've got nothing to lose and lots to gain. The product focus of this episode is the Ceres fish cake mix. We know that you're busy juggling day to day as chefs, fryers and cooks. However, you also balance the need for profit and for selling fantastic food to your customers. You should make profit when you're closed and sales when you're open. Let us think for a moment of butchers. They don't just sell fillet steak, sirloin steak and porterhouse, do they? They've got multiple cuts and all the trimmings go into sausages. Think of how they turned low value trimmings, which are still a great product, into £9 to £10 a kilo. Nothing goes in the bin, nothing. Believe it or not, your premium ingredient is cod and haddock and any other fish that you're filleting. You can trim the fish to the perfect weight, let's say 7 ounces. I'm not saying that's the perfect weight, I'm just saying that's your desired weight. And you don't have to worry about what to do with the trimmings. If you've got an 8 to 10 ounce and you want it to be 7, you've got a couple of ounces there, you've got a goujon, and you've got a few bits for your fish cakes too. The Ceres fish cake mix is the solution to increasing your profits on your premium fish offering. Why give customers inconsistent portions and ruin your gross profits? So, here it is. By making homemade fish cakes, you can increase your profits and sales simultaneously. I know what you're thinking. I can just use potatoes or chips that I've got on site. By the time I've even brought them to the boil, you'll be finished using the Ceres fish cake mix. We have put together so many recipes to get you started, you'd be crazy not to increase loyalty and profits by serving homemade fish cakes unique to your business. Increase sales and profits today. Order your Ceres fish cake mix from worldofceres.com/shop. Now, this is part 2 of the chat that I've had with Alastair Horabin, the owner of Stelios Fish and Chips based around the Fylde Coast. This is, like I said, a new thing that we're trying, so give us your feedback and let us know what you think. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on. I hope you enjoy this final instalment with Alastair. I think you'll agree we should have him on again. So, be sure to give us your feedback and be sure to share this with your friends who are in the industry.
And wait for external people to come and help is just weak.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, last year, you were in the fish and chip groups. I know you don't comment a lot, but you're there. You're hiding. But last year... So last year, the industry publicly started taking this leap towards £10 fish and chips. And, privately, I was having a few conversations, maybe with you and others and loads of people, and I was sort of concerned about this blanket approach of just saying in the trade fish and chips are going to be £10. And I remember at the time having conversations with industry people, let's say, and I'd say to Andrew, for example, look, we don't need to go out there and say we're going to be more expensive because everything's going to be more expensive, which makes us the same. Obviously that he's got to do what he's got to do. What's your thoughts about this lurch as an industry to £10 fish and chips?
I think Andrew was just attacked by all media and they picked the £10, which is fair enough. But I mean, there'd be people who have this leap to £10 and there'd be people who are nowhere near £10. There's people already past £10. What I think people should be discussing is more the profitability of whatever they're selling. I think the angle that maybe I would like to see the NFFF take going forward is £10 for a 16-ounce cod and 20 ounce of chips. is a waste of time. £10 for 5 ounce of fish and 10 ounce of chips in a biodegradable tray with a 10p bag, with a biodegradable fork and a big smile, we're all winning. And that's the problem. And that's what we said about growing a chain, why there's regional differences. And that element is what's killing the job, because you've got people giving away way too much food, way too much, and it undermines the whole job. Do you know what I mean? And I use the example in the steak industry. You can go to Miller and Carter, or you can go to Gaucho. You can go to Mr. Selby. I've never been to him, and crazy prices, but still but we limit ourselves by saying there's a price of £10 is our glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Why don't you do a great job, work your calculator, make a margin, and then charge accordingly? Because, again, go back to concentrating on what the other guy's doing around the corner. He might be running an illegal business. He might be filleting headless and gutted. He might be buying IQF. He might be using frozen chips. It's just not, you've got to run your own business. Because if it's a race to the bottom, no one's going to win. And I think the £10 headline was already broken in certain areas of the South before we even started discussing it. And all that did was negate the positives of the industry. And I think for me, the £10 framework, it needs to be more of how we get a better portion that's sustainable, that's edible, as in better quality, as well as consumable, as in not 16 ounce. No one wants a pound of fish and 20 ounces of chips at 2:00 in the afternoon. And then how it's prepared, how it's fried, how it's presented, how it's served. That's more important to me than worrying about the price, because the price is the price. I mean, I can't believe we're an industry that stand at the front door and say, "Oh, it might be £10."
Well, we're turning away customers, aren't we?
Yeah, just think it's a narrative that needs to be stopped from the top all the way down.
Yeah.
Just concentrate on whatever that price is at, and I think we're £8.95 for haddock and chips.
Yeah,
I mean, that'll be £9.25 in April. It'll be £9.75 in September, and it'll be what it'll be in 2024. Do you know what I mean? And that will be dictated to by living wage and energy and fixed costs and things that rise. Do you know what I mean? I don't look and go, "Oh, you let me get to £10 tomorrow," because if I did, I should have been that 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I do think that I would like to see more focus internally within the industry on gross profit. What is my gross profit? Because for me, when people are saying I need to put my price up because I'm making no money, my first question is, what's your gross profit? What's your net profit? What are your figures? Again, that's not to be, oh, look at him, he's being smart. It's not. It's just that you can't just look at the pile of money at the end of the week, at your cash margin, let's say, and then say, well, you need to look at every metric. And that's just me. But I do think there is a problem in the fact that maybe this industry has probably forgotten through the good times that we are a volume business. That actually the more customers you serve, the better off you are, regardless. And on that note, how have you managed to keep footfall and turnover steady, or increasing if possible, with everything that's been happening?
So me and Fred discussed this. Fred Capel, Chef Fred, probably the single store best operator by none. And we're discussing the fact that fixed costs are there, the building's there, the range is there, the staff are there. So you go past the price point and you turn people away, you actually lose twice. Where if you keep it at the right margin and the right price, squeeze margin, or look at how you keep the sales, you're actually impacting the same or more people, which then gives you an opportunity to back yourself with, as I keep going on, good service, good food, and good value for money. So they tell 1, tell 2, tell 4, and the thing grows. Someone goes in and goes, "Oh, I went to Scenes, it was 25 quid fish and chips." They reverse that the other way, tell 1, tell 2, tell 4, suddenly you've killed the golden goose. So to be busy and to live, I live with a calculator. I sleep with a calculator by my bed. I remember falling out of bed once, and it was on the floor, and I was like, because I worry about numbers, and I don't think enough people in our industry worry about numbers, and I see numbers as the key part of any business. I'm sorry to be a geek, but
No, I don't
If
think you are.
these people who say, "Oh, I've been working fish and chips for 30 years and I don't cut it with a knife," I cut it to like we have a tolerance in all sizes, because why wouldn't you? Because a customer one day can come in and get this big or that big or 7 ounce or 7-11 ounce or whatever. It drives me insane. So to get what I get out of a bag of chips, like, why don't you know what you're getting out of a bag of chips? Like, why don't you know, like, how you're getting out of a slab? Do you mean, how are you shocked that a pan costs that amount of money to run? Do you mean, like, people saying, "Oh, we should turn the pans off more"? I'm flabbergasted that, what, you just had pan 5 on all night when you didn't need it. I mean, like, we're in a business to do it not as a hobby, as to make money. And that's the difference that I think the industry now needs to be seen, whether that be coaching through the NFFF or through people or private individuals. But this isn't a hobby industry. And to get an expensive £200 case of fish and ruin it by not weighing it, or get a bag of spuds at 10 quid and not know what your yield is, to pay the amount of oil we're paying for oil and not know how long it should live and look after it. I think that's the factors that need to be part of the 2020 onward generation of fish and chip operators. Not to labour the point, but what's the point without being funny? I know a break even of the whole company that I need to hit, otherwise I'm losing money.
Yeah.
And that's important whether you're Greg's the Bakers or you're a one-man band, because
go on,
what's
sorry.
the point, Stelios? Otherwise, do you mean that you to open a site that isn't viable, to just crawl through what? To break clause? To crawl through and just go, "Oh, I've done it for 25 years." I just think the industry, whether you're running on under the VAT threshold, trying to earn a little bit of a hobby money, whether you've got seasonal sites, you want to do well out of what you're doing. Otherwise, what are you doing it for? So get a calculator, work out your gross, work out your fixed costs, minimum, and then worry about improving them 1% to improve the bottom line.
Yeah, we had a chap message me last week, and he said, "Oh, he goes, I've just started using your batter," and he showed me a few photos, and I says he was struggling a little bit just with a transition, and I said, "Oh, what size fish is that, or what size fish you serve?" And he goes, "Oh, for this portion, we do anything from 5 to 8. It's a 5 to 8." And I was like, "Okay, and that's what you have." I said, "Like, you buy that. What do you cut it down to?" He was like, no, it's a 5 to 8. I don't do anything to it. I just give it away. You know, that's the regular, let's say. And I was like, so a customer could come in and buy a 5 or an 8. And he was like, well, yeah, I guess. Because I never really thought about it like this. And I was like, do you not weigh your fish? He goes, no. Do you not trim your fish? He goes, no. What would I do with the trimmings? And obviously, I mentioned the fish cake mix, which incidentally hasn't tripled in price. But you know, but no. And he was baffled, because the person who taught him just said, look, you just get your fish out and do this. And again, you're only as good as the person that taught you. So yeah, he's really interested that he was probably giving away, you know, without even realizing, all that extra product. You know, and now he's thinking, well, I've got to do something else. And, you know, so yeah, how can you run a business, you know, and have concerns about everything else? I know it goes back to the wider thing. If you're not looking at those things that you just mentioned, you know, your spud yields, your chip yields, all of these yields, if you're not looking at the basics, then how do you know how everything else is affecting you?
Yeah, 100%. And it only gets measured, or what gets measured gets improved.
Yeah.
And I think anyone listening, and probably bored of hearing me say it, but the 1% add up. And if you measure anything, it gets improved. And whether that be your weight, whether that be your hours of sleep, whether that be the hours of work, whether that be your food shop, whatever you in your private life or your business life, I've found that whatever you measure, it very, very rarely doesn't get improved. And if you're not measuring what you're getting out of a slab of fish, I mean, wow, credit to you, you're surviving. But I mean, imagine how amazing it would be to know that every portion you sell, net the VAT, is making you 65% or 55% or 75%, whatever you feel you need to get to.
Yeah.
It gives you confidence in your product then. But if you sat there 40%, head down, hoping, I just think you're on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah. What is the, like, talking about these things, what's the one metric for you that you obsess over that always needs to be bang on within the business?
Gross profit in the business sense, wage percentage for the stores, and then I would look at internal metrics. Again, I don't want to bore your audience, but like if you're measuring it on Just Eat, are you adding time? What's your score? Are you hitting the algorithms? Are you posting every day on socials? Are you doing the bits? And that's the key. So metric GP, waste percentage, and then if I feel there's a store just underperforming, I'll dig in and it'll be deliveries are not quite there, or is there a review score? Because we don't get it right. I'm not here to say we do an amazing job every day. Of course we don't. We mess up more than we should do. But how do you react to that is the key thing. And how do we get that right? And they're the metrics that add up. I mean, if you're getting 50 complaints a month and you're serving, I don't know, £1 million a week, then you're all right, aren't you?
Pretty much.
If you're getting 50 and you're doing £500 a day, like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So for me, metrics of business, gross profit and wage percentage. And then like things like fixed costs. Like I know if you've got a rent that's 50 grand a year, you probably don't want to be in that. But if you're taking 100 grand a week, it works itself out. Where if you've got a rent that's 8 grand a year and you're taking $500,000, you're probably winning. Do you know what I mean? So it can get you in a position where you go, oh, my rent's this, who cares? I'll not weigh fish where if you think about it in terms of doing each bit into sections, whether that be the husband and wife shop, whether that be a smaller business, a big busy shop, amazing shop, measuring things normally improves it. So gross profit, wage percentage, and then sweat the little bits. I had a shop that I was moaning about. I've given them 3 weeks to improve their Just Eat added time. It's down to the ops director not fully understanding, because the person was new to delivery from a restaurant store to a delivery store, that every minute you add extra time, it kills the algorithm. So the scoreless, the back of house accepted time is horrific. It takes 28 days to put that right, because that's the way the algorithm on Just Eat works. So we'll just measure that for 4 weeks, improve it, and at the end of 4 weeks, if you've got it right, you'll hit your bonus.
Yeah. Talking about staff for a moment. Now, you've got a group. I met you a few years ago when you had maybe 2 sites, maybe 3. And one thing I noticed when I was waiting for you to turn up, actually, but I remember I like to just go in the shop, and if the staff let me in, I just like chatting to them, because you get a real feel for the business from people at that level. I genuinely do, like in any business. And, and one thing I noticed that your staff were highly motivated, and they really had a lot of respect for you. And I know how hard that is as a manager, as a leader, as corny as that word sounds. We are all leaders if we're running a business and we've got team members. But I left with the impression of that your staff really liked you. And maybe they don't agree with everything you do, because that's probably impossible. But they seem to respect the decisions you were making. And is that a conscious effort?
Listen, we don't get it right. Let me tell you, there's lots of people that have tried to take me to tribunal. There's people that have got bad words to say about me. There's people who've never met me and have got bad words to say about me. At the end of the day, I kind of understand there's 2 sides to every coin, but most people have never met me. The reality of staff is we care, really. We're a family business that build ourselves as a community. We have pretty old-fashioned values. Sir and madams are important. Eye contact, handshakes, little things like, if you've got a problem, come at me and we'll fix it. Not at a Christmas party when you're 10 pints in and go, in my review, I should have done this. We try and have it out. I'm an Aries. We try and have it out. Let's have it out, sort it, move on. So we're quite transparent with that. And I'm pretty transparent with the way I run the business. So things like wage percentages are sent every Monday for all 9 sites. So you hit your bonus, you hit your number, you get your bonus. So the guys who are hitting it feel great. The guys who aren't, that's life, okay? That's life. But the ones who don't and consistently don't, we have to change that and come up with like the Just Eat one I mentioned. Let's take you off the wage percentage. You're nowhere near, your shop's doing crap. We need to do a better job. Let's improve this first, then we'll get back on the wage one. So being transparent. So if you and me are working for me and we're in a pub, we're on the same pay. We're in the same uniform. We work the same hours. You both get a weekend day off. You both do 5 dinners and 4 nights. You both got opportunity. There's not you're on 15, you're on 10, you work Saturday, Sunday. So it's clean. Everything there across the chain, so they all stand. But I'll stand with them in the frying ranges. I'll stand with them in the potato machines. I'll grumble. I'll chip. I'll cook fish. I'll deliver. I'll go on the roof and clear the flood. Well, because I don't want to be seen as sat in an office. I hate offices anyway. But I want to be in the business because they're working to make the brand and the family money. So I've got to respect the value of everyone who does that for me. Now, does a guy starting on living wage who doesn't know anything about the world really want to start at that level? No. But you could be rubbish. But if you improve, I'll give you 10% more. And if you improve again, I'll get 10% more, you'll get a new T-shirt. And of that, you're going to have this responsibility. And pathways are respected by people and challenging people. Like I've got a guy I want to run the number 10 store, but he doesn't drive. So I'll fund his driving lessons. I'll give him a loan for his car and I'll take it off him at £2 a week for weeks. If someone's got short of money through COVID, which was a lot because they were coming off, they joined me, universal credit wouldn't work. It'd take 4 weeks. I need to borrow. Would have to give it. Would learn, and Sally would ring me and go, babe, you've got like $5,000 out here. And I go, you don't worry about that. It's all been approved. And no one's ever defaulted on a payment. Someone will come at me and I'll say, right, £500 hardship loan, we'll pay it over 52 weeks. So they're going to work the balls off and bust themselves because we're looking after them at that time of need. Overtime, we don't do overtime. Can we maximize your opportunity? Can you get better? Who wants to work 75 hours a week? Giving them a weekend day off. 5 dinners and 4 nights is my preferred rota because you get 2 full days and a night off. And how do we attract staff is probably your next question because that's what we look to do still. You go to these people from Ember Inns or Domino's Pizza, we're competing against them every day. That's what I say to you, competing against these people. So how do we get them? Well, they work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They hate their life. They never see the kids. They never see the weekend. They never watch the football team. They never get to be anything outside of the weekend. And they pigeonhole themselves as working in hospitality. But we're not going to attract the best people, are we? So we put the hourly rate, we put the opportunity, we put the bonus structure, we put the brand, we put the uniform, we put the opportunity that they can grow into. And then we add the multi-layers in terms of Domino's Pizza Night, Krispy Kreme donuts, Prosecco days, beers, bits, gifts, that just keep the whole team going when realistically it's tough out there. I mean, a Lytham sunny day in the festival, you're probably going to struggle to get a full dinner break. You're probably going to struggle to get through the day. Do you know what I mean? So how do we go support that? And I think if we do that and we get buy-in, but we're also transparent when it doesn't go great. Does that make sense? If it's shit, we'll tell you it's shit. And if it's shit, why is it shit? And then we'll work on getting better. Or some people, a bit like the Timpson brand, amazing book for everyone to read out there. They've got training plans online. Some people aren't for you. And letting them go professionally and saying, listen, Stelios, you've come from the pub group, but you're just not the right fit for seniors. 3 weeks in, 4 months in, is better than 2 years poison, toxic, ruining your brand.
Yeah. No, that's so true.
A long answer to saying I love all my staff and anyone who needs to have any help, I'll try and help. But the main thing is giving them opportunity, not giving them handouts.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important thing. And actually, the hardship loan is really interesting because that would be massively respected, I would imagine.
I've given someone £3,000, right? Got himself in a mess. He won't listen to this, but I wish he did. He got himself into a mess where a catalogue debt, then council tax arrears, and it was costing him more unbelievable amounts of money to get through each month, which was draining him. He was negative, and it came up in a review. He wasn't the same person. So anyway, I was like, and there are a couple who work for me. He works predominantly, and then his partner works alongside him at the same store. So I gave him $3,000. I came home, Sally went mental because we weren't. If they walk tomorrow, we're out for 3K really. But other than that 2-week wage, I said, don't worry about that. He's going to work it. And he worked the extra shift to pay the money to do it right. And he finished it on Christmas Day, shook my hand, said, thanks. The compound saving has got me through 5 months of 2022. And then I looked and I thought, well, that's made his kids better, eat better. That's made, nothing against frozen food stores, but I mean, that was to get through. Do you mean? And I look and I think, well, all right, that's bigger than me earning. The money was there. Look after the guy. And it's a bit like another manager from a really good store I own. He was just down. And his garden was getting him down. He spent all COVID and he was looking at a crap garden. I said, I'm not going to give you a bonus. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sort your garden out for you. Actually, it cost me more than it should have done. Again, another reason Sally went mental. But I mean, the landscape gardeners, the maintenance guys who come and work for the brand, went to his garden, trimmed it back so he could see it, made it right. And he could then enjoy his day and a half off at the weekend and at the time in his garden.
Yeah.
But then he came to work in a better mood. And I think sometimes you're so busy beating the staff up that for 250 quid, it changed that man's aspect on his time off.
Yeah.
So he wasn't coming in with a face like a smacked arse, draining the business, because really what was getting his down is he couldn't see the wood for the trees.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was move the guys who were landscaping the business and keeping all the hanging baskets and the gardens and the thing, just tidy that up. And I think sometimes you've got to have that gut feeling. Some people obviously don't get that. And I don't do that to every member of staff. He worked for me for a long period of time. I felt he wasn't right. We sat down with him in a meeting. And so I think it's the whole thing, Stel, of the buying. Like last night, I was at St. Anne's store working. I mean, it wasn't a busy shift. We didn't do great deliveries, but they're asking me like, how would you do this? How would you do that? And, oh, you've got this car, or you've done this for this, or your kids do that. And they just contact. I think people like it.
Yeah. And does all this help with recruitment? You know, you've built the business up, you know, since I've known you, you've gone from 3 to 9, and soon it's going to be 10, and probably one day it's going to be 12. You know, it must be hard to get great people. So does all of this help? You know, do people that work for you tell their friends, oh, there's an opportunity coming up? You know, how does that work for you?
Well, we have a referral scheme where that pays after leaving the red and going in red T-shirt and leaving into training, they get paid. And then they get paid, again, copied from Timpson's. Great business. Anyone should read about how they operate. They use prison officers as well, which is...
We did a podcast with one of their guys.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great visionary people. So they get paid. I mean, money makes the world go round. They get paid a bonus for suggesting someone who gets retained, who gets trained, and then at the anniversary of the 12th month, they get paid again. Because they know what I'm like, they know what the brand's like, and you're kind of recommending people who you know are going to work. It's not a new thing, is it? It's been done in industry before. So, listen, when everyone struggled for staff, it's been horrific. At COVID time, I felt like it was like one was going down, one was coming back. It was carrying more staff than we need, not as trained as we need. We had no one in the stores. Well, like now, I'm quite bullish about staff because I'm going to go and attack Wetherspoons, Domino's, KFC, Subway, lesser a bigger degree, all the pub groups, because they value people less than we do, and they work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have no nights off. They don't see Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Boxing Day. They don't see holidays in the summer holidays, and they're the lowest hanging fruit. Now, when you speak to James, with God knows how many he has at Fish and Chicken, poor guy, he's at 40 sites. So in a different demographic, where someone where I am in Lancashire, which is going back to your question at the beginning, £10.50 plus an hour, which is a new living wage, when you can buy a 3-bedroom house for 75 grand, is a different demographic to attract staff. So we definitely will be going on the offensive to try and upgrade the workforce. I've got people from Pound Stretcher joined this year, brilliant guy, doing great things, been promoted to Thornton after a short period of time in the brand. We've just took 2 guys from Domino's Pizza through the last 2 or 3 years. They were working 2 o'clock in the morning, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, making pizzas. Do you mean, well, they're going to come and work for me till 8 o'clock, be home for 8:30.
Have a life.
And they get a weekend day off. So I think you've got to depict the story, but also you've got to dance the tune of what is going to attract the people. And I know I could not physically work till 2 o'clock in the morning making pizzas, knowing the next day you're in at 10 or 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. No, no, I get what you're saying. And so we always talk about staff and we always think of them as people that work within the building, but then you have a large delivery presence. Has that been harder? Because everyone is after delivery people. Amazon, Just Eat for their own stuff, Uber Eats, everything. Everyone is looking for a delivery driver of some sort.
Delivery. I mean, if I was going to write a book, I'd definitely have a chapter. Delivery, and I've listened to Paul Goodgame's. I get it. But I mean, I'm a control freak. I cannot allow, as good as the people could be, Just Eat to deliver my food. Couldn't do it.
And just for those listening, and they probably maybe they haven't listened to Paul Goodgame's, he was saying that they'd done the exercise of, I don't know whether it was all of the shops, but they've moved a significant amount of people from having their own drivers to, let's say, Just Eat drivers.
Yeah. And I'll put that for context. That also, and again, numbers, open book, Just Eat charge 35% roughly commission to deliver your food. Now, you go away with a piece of paper, work the math out, you've got to pay that on everything, you've got to add that on everything. Does that make that proposal to a person outside attractive? So I just went the other way. Again, the one of the 99, I'd rather be on my own. And bought, I think we're at 15 delivery cars now. I've got iGos, C1s, all branded. Because, again, I've heard it on previous podcasts and seen it on groups. There's no cash. There's no cash on delivery. There's no BS like that. And that's what comes with delivery drivers. No one wakes up and wants to be a right back for Man United. That's Gary Neville, isn't it? But I mean, I wouldn't have a problem being a right back for Man United at the moment on 200 grand a week. And I think you get it in the fact that how do you make a delivery driver want to be a delivery driver? Well, you make it by giving them a branded car with my insurance, my fuel, that's safe, in a great working environment, and pay them a wage that is befitting of that job. Because without them, we haven't got a business through COVID. So we pay them a retention bonus, no sickness, no disciplinary. You get paid more money. So you're looking after the vehicle, you're looking after yourself, you're doing a good job, and you wear a uniform, you look smart, you're meeting the customer, we're getting that last point of contact is you. So do a good job. Right, enjoy your food. Have a great weekend. 1-2 lines. So we haven't had a difficulty with delivery drivers. We've got, I don't know how many still, to be honest. Be well over 30 people who work in the business delivering. Most of those people just deliver. We have people who work through the lunches who may drive and serve to keep the delivery open through dinner. But we have a huge presence on our own website. I'd love to have the balls to just shut Just Eat, Uber off, but they do a great job for the industry. I'm not a huge fan, I must admit. We pay an awful amount of commission to them guys at the 12% level, but they've got Snoop Dogg singing away every week. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you can't beat that. And if you're hitting the algorithms, which again, and you're doing a good job with your food and it's right, there is a migration from Just Eat to your own brand. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I want to shed some more light on this because I think that it's really important to you and I think it's really important to seniors. We have talked about inflation and prices, but as a brand, how important is it to you to be value for money at seniors?
I think I've said it through the pod. I think you can't damage the whole plan that you've worked for. I think I think if you use your calculator and work life quite simply, you've got to make money to keep going. So value for money is the huge part of everything we do. Do you know what I mean? The fact that some people say we're too cheap, some people would say that we're overpriced because we're comparing ourselves with a guy who doesn't pay the VAT on Blackpool seafront. So as you draw a line, you've got to run your own business. So I know a sausage deal, which is a jumbo sausage, regular chips, a 6-ounce side and a can of pop for £5, still makes me money because we do a lot of them.
Yeah.
I know that a bargain banger makes me money. I know that Cheapy Tuesday is now a great day. I know that a Saturday Saver, similar. But you want to get yourself comparing to other industries, and Tesco meal deals up. I mean, like £3, I think it's £4 now for the club card or something like that. So you've got to know that if you've got a salad box, a bag of massive crisps and a massive pint of Red Bull Monster for £3-4, are they going to go there? Are they going to go and pay £8-9 for a fish and chip lunch? Do you know what I mean? So 3 ounces of fish in most people's podcasts have just fallen off the chair, but 3 ounces of fish, chips, large side, and a can of pop for £6. Do the math. It's got to work.
Because I've seen a sentiment recently in some of the fish and chip groups where some people just say, I'm not willing to work that cheap. And then you probably see a few weeks later that the same person will say that, the pan was sitting there idle for a while. And you think, well, those two things are linked. That if you're driving volume, you're always going to be serving a better product. We know that, for argument's sake, fish and chips are probably better on a Friday than they are on a Monday lunch because you've got the volume. Your oil's in better condition. Your pans are blowing out. Really good product. And I just wonder sometimes, listening to you, I really get it. And you're very hyper-focused on that. And why I wanted to bring it up again was just to maybe reiterate the point, because I do think it's a really good point. I think that there's no shame. You're not ashamed to be doing that because the figures stack up. You know that.
Yeah, again, I think you look at a piece of fish, say it's 100 ounce for ease of working, you cut 3 ounces out of it, and you sell it but you're touching more people, and where you could sell it into 10 ounce pieces, and you get a great margin. You sell it, you might net more profit per piece. But the reality is, I'm not that one-man band that can do £100 at lunch.
Yeah.
And I think as you go into looking at the market and the industry, and most of the shops, they're all covered the costs. So you've got to push that cost. I know I've heard you on your podcast before. If you put 10 fish in or 20 fish at the same time. But it's the perception as well to the customer that this Domino's pizza, well, it's £20 a pizza. I think Asda are way cheaper than that. I think you can get an even cheaper pizza at Aldi and do your own salami topping. But that's what you need to be. And I think if you can tick with high quality, high service, value for money in any industry, I think that's when you make great strides. And I'd love people in this podcast, however many people listen, just get a scales, get a calculator, get a pen and a piece of paper, and you'll improve your business tomorrow. And that will create your brain thinking, well, wow, I need to do this. And for me, staying busy, you can be a busy fool. I get that. And I see people doing the fish and chips for 99p. I mean, that's a marketing trick that may retain, it might not retain. You're not making money on that, especially in today's costs. But you can get a small sausage, chips and a side in a small bio for not a lot of money and still turn a profit, but you've got to do a ton of them.
Yeah. That's the idea. It's the volume. And you've kept your menu quite traditional, and that's not a negative point. What do you take into consideration when thinking about adding stuff to the menu or taking stuff off the menu?
I love the film Armageddon. I love it. I don't like a lot of films, but I like films in certain ways because they picked him because he's the best driller. They're going to save the planet. I know it isn't real, but they're going to drill a hole in a massive piece of rock that's going to kill us all. And he wasn't concentrating on what was going to go in the hole or how to get to the hole. He was just going to drill
the hole.
And my job is fish and chips. I'm nowhere near as good at pizzas, kebabs, burgers, all-day breakfast, coffee, any of that. I'm a fish and chipper, right? So if anything, through COVID, I was at my happiest because we had one size of haddock, one size of chips, I think we did all side orders of one sausage. And it was euphoric. It was like, this is what people want, and you're fluffing the rest of the menu. So I try and take items off. So like 3 nuggets instead of 6, right? Well, more people want 6 than 3, and it makes less of a sale. So let's just do 6. Chicken tenders, like it took me 3 years to find the right chicken tender, and the story is amazing. But there was a lot of crap. Like James Lipscomb wouldn't even tell me where he gets them from or how he does it, and he's like one of my best friends. And it took us 3 years to find the right chicken tender. It took us the time to find the right pea seasoning and my own label gravies and curries. And I think, why make it? I'm not good at anything other than fish and chips. So I know every menu item on there. I know every GP item. I know everything that's going to make, and I can control that. And it all goes with chips. So I can kind of make great chips with a pie, with a pudding, with a sausage, with a fish. But if you then start trying to do chili con carne or jacket potatoes I've seen come in and go, or chicken breast that's frozen, then you blast it in a microwave, then you finish in a deep fat fryer, never going to be as good as someone who's freshly rotisserie, stick it in with just stick to what I know. And that's why I use the analogy of the Armageddon film, and I'm just good at fish and chips, and I don't complicate it with any more than that. I think I've even gone back from having cod, haddock, hake, plaice, lemon sole, halibut, John Dory, of all sorts of fish that we had in the early parts of the 2000s. And we now have a simple menu with a special on there, and we concentrate on making that really good. So cod, haddock, hake, cod, haddock, lemon sole, cod, haddock, hake, halibut brought in. You refer to your old Petru trick of sticking that high and makes the haddock look cheap. It's classic. It's great. It works every time. But I mean, that's marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, he is a great marketeer. One of the things he always says to me is profits made when you're closed and sales are made when you're open. And yeah. I think I put that in the ebook, to be honest. I nicked it off him. But he just literally, it's so true, because and another friend of mine, Raphael Chandler, says that his old boss told him your profit's made on the cutting board, like we've established, many don't even have a cutting board. And that's not to knock them, it's just they didn't know. So, no, I'm really intrigued about that, because in your mind, it's rather than being a jack of all trades, I just want to be the master of one. And that is... Yeah. I want to become the guy or the shop that people know, there's great fish and chips there, and the sides are great. That's where I go. I don't want to have a kebab or pizza or whatever other major item could be on the menu. And that's not suggesting for 1 minute that those that do it are wrong, but this is what works for you. No, this is what works for you. So I want to sort of get to the end of the podcast, really. But what I wanted you to say before we start closing up is that why do you sweat the small stuff? You've mentioned it, the 1%. You've put in your notes, flowers, hanging baskets, uniforms, branded items, no plastic. You've jumped on these things, and you are still offering a value proposition. These things will also cost you money. Moving over to bio boxes, for argument's sake, will cost you money. So you're still trying to give people a better experience, but you're also trying to be value for money. How tricky does that get?
Well, I'll give you the example of the BioBox. Before that, we used our own box that we made. So you've got space, storage, doing it, labour costs come to there. And also the BioBox, I think, just looks crisp and clean. But then we don't use a vest. We don't use a very expensive bag. So we charge 10p for a bag that costs, I don't know, penny and a half, 2p.
Okay.
So I've got an amazing box that I wrap in, and I could put it in an amazing bag that costs 30p. Are they now? I don't know. Like a branded white bleached bag with Senior's logo. It's mental. But I've got an amazing cup with an amazing lid that's branded, amazing bio box, wrapped in paper, and it goes in a Senior's branded bag that's fully recyclable that costs 10p to the customer to buy. So I think that's the dichotomy is having the bits that make, like, that bag's going to go in someone's car or not go in someone's car, or they're going to come in with an Asda bag or a bag for life. So don't spend 30p on that bag. but do a great product, great bio and great blended cut and wrap it and have branded grease proof, because that's what people are going to see. So they're going to see a hanging basket. They're going to see flowers. They're going to see a great uniform. They're going to see a name badge. Stelios is served me. It's on the receipt. So if he's done a good job, he's Stelios. If he's done a bad job and he's forgotten a piece, we know it's Stelios, so we can offer training.
Yeah.
Things like the shop being updated and fresh, and the floor, and if there is a leak, put a nice laminated sign that says, "Apologies, we've had a leak. It'll be fixed ASAP." Not a piece of white news. Having right hand soaps in the toilets and smelling right. Having the table set up right with the pocket, with the brand. It's pennies. It's absolutely pennies different than a white bleached one. And I think they all add up. And they don't have to come to seniors, do they? They can go somewhere else. And I think the reality of the experience has to be taken into account. And the online experience, the delivery experience, the internal experience, the restaurant experience, the toilet, all the bits that go with it, I think need to be thought about. But go back to the takeaway bag. Takeaway bag, affordable, used very limited in the experience. Amazing fish and chips in a great bio with a great branded box with a great branded grease proof. That's how I try and do it. Yeah. So, do you mean gold plated toilets would make someone really happy? But I mean the functional toilets that we've got great tiles from Top Tiles that are fresh, clean, white, decorated every year. It's probably better than having a Dyson hand dryer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That are thousands of pounds across the chain. So little bits that make a big difference add up. And that's the point I try and make in terms of sweating the little bits. Like we've got a biodegradable fork. Do you mean we've never used poly? We've never had everything's biodegradable or recyclable because you just don't need. It's a choice, isn't it? But people could be offended by having polystyrene. So just don't be offended by it. Make the improvement. So the little bits like giving kids a Haribo, bag of Haribo, and they come in the shop because they're making noise. Yeah, they're just shouting. Give them a Haribo. Everyone just gets quiet. They're all happy. The mum's happy. The kids are quiet. The kids happy. They've got a Haribo. And when they come back, they're going to eat the Haribo, and they're going to want to come back to seniors. Yeah, I say to my staff all the time, we give hundreds of bags of Haribo away a week. I don't care because everyone's happy. The kid has had a better experience. The kid doesn't give a toss where he's at, she's at. Doesn't care about seniors. All they care about is they want to go back to that chippy to get a free bag of Haribo. Yeah, and it adds up.
No, it makes complete sense. No, it makes complete sense. And like you say, free bag of Haribo. Everyone's happy with that, aren't they?
So, I think you do that, don't you?
We do indeed. But we keep adults quiet. It's amazing.
Kids of the future, though. Kids of the future still.
So, if the NFFF could put all their support behind just one project, one thing that would help all the industry, what do you think that could be?
The NFFF is an institution, obviously. It's a institution that has volunteers. I don't know the accounts. I don't know anything about it. I'm not in a position of power to know. I know that Andrew Crook travels the world. I know that he is a great ambassador for the business of fish and chips. But the world is changing. And I think that the whole point of training people, as I said to you prior to the pod, to be specifically better in their store, I would love to have a conversation about how we improve whatever fish and chip shops are left after this period of whatever we're going to call it, recession. And for that, the NFFF could openly look at how they train not just the ones who are new to the industry, but the ones that are existing, and not have a flagship place in Leeds, travel with that, not have a need for Andrew to travel literally around the world to be an ambassador, have multifaceted people, and maybe look at the way that is delivered in terms of training, in terms of education, in terms of calculator, piece of pen, paper, cutting board. Do you mean sending out basics of there? the membership is important to the industry, but it's going to be hard for Andrew to go and meet with a chancellor or a MP or even the Prime Minister and say, can we have VAT at 10%? I mean, I just think it's a waste of his time to try and even get that through, because we're in a hell of a mess as an economy. But we can all concentrate on making ourselves 1% better or 10% better by having the low-hanging fruit, and then as an industry we are seen as a more professional, more befitting of potential change if and when that does come.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it makes complete sense. I think all change starts from within. I really truly believe that. And so for anyone that listens to the Stelios podcast, really know that I respect McDonald's, their business. I look at them with inspiration, and I look at a lot of businesses with inspiration. I learn from their mistakes. I learn from their successes. I read books. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do all of this. What books or podcasts are you obsessed with?
I said to you in the notes, I probably listen to between 20 and 30 hours a week of podcasts. Treadmill, bike, car, everything, all over. I read a book a week. I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to that. So I love the All In podcast. It's a bit geeky. Americans, great for business and what's over in America. I listen to Diary of a CEO. I listen to, I'm trying to think of ones that don't pigeonhole people to. I listen to Jake Humphrey. I listen to some crazy daft stuff like Business Wars. I listen to
I love Business Wars.
Under the Cosh. He's a bit of a football-y one with which is great. Lewis, the guy who founded Gymshark, Lewis Morgan. Honestly, I could get my phone and look through them all, but BBC, the little 14-minute ones that tell you about who the people are that are current. I mean, those are great. Books. What am I reading at the moment? James Smith, Confidence. I've just finished Richer Sounds again. I've got Matt McDonald's book I read each time I go on holiday and re-highlight where I'm at as a person. So the Ray Kroc book. Yeah. And then books really that are specific to just change, improving bits. I'd say the Timpson books are great to read. I put something in the notes for everyone. They actually have a series of training manuals that are out to buy, so you can improve your business on there. That's a good book. But any content that I feel can give me something. I'm going to go on my phone now. What was I listening to? It's a bit out there. I was listening to the British entrepreneur. He was hungry. Food Motion Network profile. A bit of the sporting ones. I've listened to James Sinclair. Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman. Again, they're all out there. I just think if I'm sat in a car and I'm listening to the same song every day, I'm not learning. So I just try and fill my time with. And if I'm sat on a bike or sat on a treadmill or running on a treadmill, even.
I recently sent a video footage in a group that I'm in with fish shop owners and of the dash cam in my car. And it shows a car that nearly crashed into me and then crashed into the side barrier. And hence why I shared it. And they were laughing at me because they were saying the podcast I was listening to was boring. It wasn't my own, but it wasn't boring. I was learning because I'm listening to and you can listen in a very casual way. You're just driving down the motorway and you're listening to things.
I go to supermarket and I'll listen in my ears.
Same.
As an external defender, so no one bothers me, and to educate that 30-minute. I just don't like wasting time. So in the car, commuting, taking kids to school, shopping, training, exercising, just try and take as much.
When even when I take my son to jiu-jitsu, we've got a thing. I'm not allowed to be on the phone. So if you were to ring me and I was driving to jiu-jitsu, I'm not allowed to pick it up. It's our thing. He's 7 years old. He's 8 years old. And he always says to me, Dad, we're in the car now. And we listen to, it's called Greeking Out. It's a podcast about Greek myths. And we always choose a different podcast. We were listening to the Jocko Willink podcast not so long ago. Yeah. It's a kid's one. And I find that I see the same in him. And I think my question is, and I wasn't going to ask this, but as we were talking, I noticed that family is really important to you.
Yeah.
And how did fatherhood change you? And I know it's not really relevant on a Fish and Chip podcast, but you're also a business person and juggling a lot of things. Did it soften
I had
you?
three kids. I had 3 kids under 4, right? We just won Chip of the Year. I remember taking Emily in a carry case to a site meeting at Bispham. And the managers were like, "You okay?" I was like, yeah, fine. And I was just about on time or just a bit late. And I was like, "What's the problem, boys?" And they were like, "Oh, you okay with your baby?" I was like, "Mate, she's going to grow up to be getting used to me doing this, right? Judge me good or bad. She's asleep in the car. This is a site meeting. I need to be here. I'm looking after her because Sal's asleep, right? Let's crack on with the site meeting." So kids have never really changed the way and I said to you, I've gone out the door to try and take a phone charger to a shop to charge an iPad, and I've come back 9 hours later because the shop was busy, it wasn't right, and I've got parking tickets from leaving it in a car that I was just going to nip to the shop, and I've been there 7 hours and I've just haven't got to the shop to go and sort it. So my wife is incredible, right? She's incredible. What she puts up with and what I've done to I've gone Ironmans whilst having kids. I've done marathons. I've done bought another shop. I rang her and said I've just bought a potato plant, a skinning machine. But all the kids know that this is because this is going to make a better life. I don't want any of them to work in fish and chips, by the way, but I do this for them, and I do it for myself, really, if I was being honest, and that's what you need, honesty, to them to have a better life of not having to do with the social media and the thing. But if one of them gets into it, like my father was, I'll be there with them doing it, next to him. But the kids, Emily worked a first shift at Christmas Eve, 10, and I was filling a shop who just had a baby. And I was like, I'm going to Christmas Eve shift, I'm just going to cover them. And Emily's came with me, and I was like, she's 10 years old, it's Christmas Eve. I was like, babe, she loves it, she's there, she was amazing, she's learning. And I think the kids see the values of looking after someone, handshakes, eye contact, customer service. They see it when it goes wrong with me and I'm stressed, I'm tired, but they also see it when it goes right, and they have a pride in doing the basics like making the bed or tidying the fire up or getting out on time and having those bits. So fatherhood, huge part of my life, probably will never ever miss those baby days when I wasn't fully there. I get that. But I am all there, all in, every sideline, every homework. I mean, my phonics lessons are improving every week. My ability to know stuff is just there. But I do it, commit it for them, really, and give them the opportunity of an education that I had, and hopefully good things come of that to them. But again, final point, they understand that the attention to detail needs to happen. Do you know what I mean?
No,
and you say, oh my God, poor kids. But being on time, being polite, eye contact.
Sense of pride.
I mean, just having something about you, because the competition out there for these kids is going to be massive. Having something that is different, being that 1%, it's going to be scary, kids, but I want you to walk the 1 instead of the 99 and work it out when you get on that pathway.
Yeah.
We'll see how they get on. I'll monitor them, and I'm sure they'll make mistakes, but make more mistakes is great than following like a sheep.
I'm a big fan of having mentors. I've got mentors in the business, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, you call it whatever you want. I guess they're all the same thing. Who do you look up to? I know you've mentioned all their names now. I'm just looking at the list. You've mentioned all their names, but I'd like you to just spend a moment on this because we're going to finish up shortly. So who over the years would you say you've either learned from or respect in the industry?
Well, it's not an exhaustive list, and they're very trusted, and they've been very kind to me over the 20 years with their time and advice and honesty. The Lipscomb family, Hugh and James, by none, the best chain in the UK. I've never met James Lowe, but I'm certain he's a good operator. But James Lipscomb, Hugh Lipscomb, incredible family, multi-generation, 100-year anniversary this year. Doing anything for 100 years as a family is incredible. Mr. Richard Ord, I mean, the length of time he's put into it, softly spoken, brilliant man with a huge success with his wife up in South Shields. Pick the phone up to him now. I've not spoke to him since they asked him a question 2 years ago, but he would welcome and be kind to me. Fred Capel, we chew fat. We're probably going through a similar part of our lives at the moment, Fred and I, in terms of like seeing what's going on with our health and our own growth as a person. But he's great. He understands that he's, again, a very rare bird in the fact that he's done it for a long time and still keen and still great. His kids have got a great future ahead of them. I'm sure of that. And then my good friend, Mr. Finnegans, Mr. Hugh Jones. We met on a very small plane, a two-seater next to each other. I think he sat on my knee. And after that, we've just become best friends. And we chat about fish, chips, family. He's a grandfather now. His health, my health. He helps me, coaches me in life. And you've got to have that in life. And I'm lucky to have those people. I probably owe them an apology as well for boring them and asking them questions. But certainly, big thanks to those people. There's other people as well, but I mean, those guys have been superb in my 2 decades running and working in fish and chips.
Well, I would like to see you stop grinding yourself down to the ground.
I need to put this in the charger as well, this battery.
Yeah, but I think you're one person that is absolutely relentless and focused, and I think you will start putting yourself first soon. That's what I think.
Well, we'll hope. We can hope. I'm sure Sally would agree with that sentiment. But right now, I am in a position of I'm very blessed and I'm happy and want just to keep going and see where that takes me.
Yeah. Well, mate, thank you for your time. It's been absolutely great. I value it. And hopefully...
You've been a part of it. You've seen me moan and you've seen me go through the chip of the year and everything there. So I apologise for taking 3 years to work out how to use a laptop and do it. But it's been good, and I hope I've not bored your audience.
I don't think you have. And 3 years is nothing. At least you've been learning phonics. That's the main thing.
Yeah, well, they're difficult. They're very difficult.
All right, Alastair. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
So go on. What did you all think? Did you find this episode interesting? I know I really love chatting to Alastair. Jump over to wildeserras.com/shop to download your free copy of the Fish and Tips ebook. Like I said previously, it's 27 chapters of absolute goodness, but you've got to help yourself. If you want to keep in the loop with what we're doing at Serres, then you should be following us on social media. But to get the information delivered to your inbox, then join our mailing list. The link will be in the episode notes. Be sure to share this podcast with your friends who are on social media. If this episode interested you, then it's going to impress your friends that are also in the hospitality or fish and chip or chefing industry. Enjoy.